So, I realized earlier today, though, we never talked about, and I don't think anybody talked about the Walking Dead season finale. Okay? We can talk about this briefly. We're just talking about random stuff. But I don't know if people are being really good this year about not doing spoilers, because people have been better over the last few seasons to not ruin the show. But for the season finale, and I'm sure people posted stuff, but I haven't seen anybody comment on The Walking Dead. Now, in my mind, it's because the opener was so, what did I say? I said like, I never recovered from the I don't want to say anything, just in case anyone hasn't seen it yet. But I never recovered from the events of the season 7 opener of The Walking Dead. And I don't think the season ever recovered as well. So it's like the show and myself, and I think the audience has like PTSD.
Mid-season opener?
Well, it's not called mid-season until, you know, it gets there. Like this, it's called the mid-season finale. I mean,
trauma.
Right. No, but the season opened with the trauma. Yeah.
Trauma.
And I think it was something so impactful that, again, I never got over it, and the season never got over it. They had some good moments, some good character moments. Carol's always awesome. Morgan's always great. Daryl's always great. But that controversial thing, we're the only two people who I've heard say this, but please do the honors of saying the aspect of The Walking Dead that we don't like.
Worst couple ever.
Who's the worst couple ever?
They're not compatible.
Who? What's their names? Rick James.
Rick James?
Rick James and, I don't know, Wiz Khalifa. So, no, it's Rick and it's Michonne. Now, Michonne. Now, these are two great characters, and everybody loves these characters independently.
And rooting for them.
And rooting for them, but to fight, for me, I'm rooting for them to fight and to defend and to attack and be badasses. But their foundation, like in season 7, when Rick met that garbage lady, the dirty lady, the leader of the...
You thought that was hot?
Well, she's dirty hot in a way, you know what I mean? I bet she's like a model in real life, but she has that look that she's dirty and everything else, but it's sort of like a sexy dirty. Guys understand what I'm talking about. But the leader of the garbage people, the trash people, all right? And that's what Negan called them. He was like, really?
Trash people.
He's like, you sacrifice them for the trash people. So, but they had a sort of a mutual respect when they met, right? They sort of were like, hey, give guns. And they would do that little barter thing. And they would say, give me, I want 20 guns or whatever. And Rick would say 10.
40.
Well, yeah, 40. And there was sort of a mutual respect. But at the end, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the season finale yet, when the twist happened and the Negan and she were doing the bargaining, Negan was like 50, 40, 50, 45, 50. And then the trash lady was like, okay, 50. It showed that Negan, which I don't know if it was on point for the story, it showed that Negan was sort of a badder ass than Rick.
Yeah.
But that was sort of a, they were showing Rick was back and all this stuff. That kind of said, like, Rick, you're kind of over your head with Negan. But long story short, the relationship that Rick established with that trash lady, you immediately respected it. That's how Rick and Michonne had. They respected each other, that transcended race, that transcended gender. It was the respect that they were both badasses. They were both natural leaders. They were both in control of their environment and doing whatever they could to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. So that's a leadership respect. That's at best brother and sister respect. That's at best whatever. But it's not kissing cousins, which is what we got. I don't see them as romantic entities. I see them as like kissing cousins. It's a little bit incestuous when I don't see their chemistry as, so I like the characters, but I don't think they've actually translated that correctly so that it's believable on screen. Every time they kiss, I cringe because it's like two buddies. How do you view that relationship? Well, you told me earlier, you sort of think they're just bad acting.
I'm really torn about this. I don't really know whether it's bad writing and that, or they're trying to portray like the woman that is like a badass and she sacrifices herself and like what is true to herself because somebody likes her finally for who she is. I'm not really sure, but it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think that if people were honest with themselves, it doesn't work for them either.
Well, it's hard for them to be honest because it's like an interracial couple. So they don't want to criticize
it. Badass. This show
it was
doing
cool.
This couple, and frankly, it's a long time coming in TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, William Shatner and who would disagree, but
that's the only.
Yeah, don't get us
the only example.
Yeah. Yeah, well, don't get us. Well, I mean, they've done that since little shows.
That show is really
groundbreaking.
Way more groundbreaking than we realized it was.
But don't get us wrong. I mean, I think, correct me if you disagree, but we like Rick and we like Michonne, and we like them together as leaders and as fighters and as badasses. And we like the idea of the story, and we like the concept that they proposed in being groundbreaking. I mean, to its credit, what they've done, at least in doing this interracial relationship, is they've never discussed it. So that's what I like. That's a realistic sort of modern view. You know what I mean? A lot of movies are like, interracial relationship, we'll be back at 6 after this, that's the whole point. You know what I mean? Hallmark special presentation. We're going to showcase an but they just happen to be together, and there's no discussion of race.
Right.
And
it's groundbreaking.
Which is and The Matrix actually gives kudos for this as well, because a lot of people don't know this. Keanu Reeves is supposed to be played by, I believe, Will Smith.
Way better.
Will Smith.
Oh, sorry.
So let me say that again. Keanu Reeves was supposed to be played by Will Smith, but turned it down. Now, when you look at that, what does that mean? The lead is black. And think about the year that Matrix came out. The main cast member was black. Morpheus was black. There were several predominant black characters, at least throughout the trilogy. And this was sort of, and it was organic. It was never a discussion. It was just sort of like, yeah, there's Morpheus. And so Will Smith turned it down. They got that guy. What's his name? Keanu. I like Keanu in this movie, just like I like Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator. Their limited range plays to the movie. It works for the movie. His sort of emotionless thing, it plays into that sort of, it's a simulation world maybe. It's what's real, what's not real. Is he real? Is he the one? There's a sort of symmetry there that casting and the director plays into well. Just like Arnold Schwarzenegger as a Terminator, as a apocalyptic, robot, his limited range works. Because you don't want someone all emotive. I'm an emotive robot. You want someone who's a little stiff, a little bulky, right? So it works. But anyway, so we love all the progressive aspects of The Walking Dead. But we just don't think they work from a chemistry standpoint. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say were some of the good things of this season, though?
I think that the whole kind of initially Disney concept of them sort of coming together under a female leadership,
Yeah.
which is sort of on trend right now. I think that's good.
What do you mean female leadership by who?
Oh,
Who? I feel like we're owls. No, who was the female leader? Michonne
no.
of The Walking Dead.
Actually, I think that.
Oh, you're right. You're talking about, and I don't want to say too much just in
Yeah,
case.
Jesus is bringing to us that our ultimate leader is going to be who? A female leader, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said that?
No.
But you sort of...
Like, he doesn't want to take the leadership role, and he's pushing her into the role. And,
Right.
And then the fearful male traditional leader is fearful. He's doing everything he can to suppress that powerful female, maternal, even pregnant power, and he can't do it. You know.
Well,
Can't. In fact, in that one episode, he was. Ooh, that's creepy.
I was looking at people. I didn't think anyone would be watching. There's two people
Oh God.
watching: Will Boggle and Amy Rosenthal.
No.
Yeah, we like to be anonymous, so we like to go live.
This sucks. People actually. All right.
Yeah. Well, Negan was funny, of course, and slightly over the top, a little bit hammy, I think, but
He likes the female power too, though.
in an enjoyable role. Yeah, he's a charismatic. For him to do the events in the first episode and still somehow be enjoyable to watch, I think is a tribute to that character. So there is a certain charisma.
Yeah, and if you completely erase any emotional component, he's looking at things in context, and he's saying, well, this is what's successful in this time, and this is what works, and he's doing it, and that's why he's successful. But then this female component comes in again, and he's kind of like, you really do it for me, you're really powerful, and I can't really resist you. And then he opens the coffin, and there she is, and she's killed herself, and she's going to eat him. And,
Yeah.
So, and there's an underlying theme of female power.
But there's also, I think, an underlying theme. Like in the first season, Shane was the whack job, right? But then as the season progressed, or the seasons progressed, you realize
similar idea
that he was way ahead of the game, and that Rick and his team needed to play catch up and into what this world was. Shane could fit into season 7, and he'd be ready to go, right? Because he was in season 1. He was already saying, "Look, this world's crazy. Don't trust anybody. You
had military PTSD already, and he knew what had to be done."
They had a lady who was hiding zombies, whatever, they don't call them zombies, but Walking Dead walkers in a barn. And he's like, are you fucking crazy? You got to kill all. And he went in there and started killing them, I think. He was way ahead of the curve. And so when you look at Negan, my point is, Negan is sort of like a modern version of Shane, where, he does these horrible things, but is it for the better good, in a sense, to maintain order and some kind of rule set for a society gone mad? Because people follow him, and he's...
Well, to me, that's the whole point in this show is you have the people that they're not all evil.
Right.
They're all good.
And it's sort of like,
the good people do evil, and the evil people do good.
Yeah.
And somehow the evil people are better at some goods than the good people are.
And the key theme of the show is that the walkers, they're not the Walking Dead. It's the people. They're the Walking Dead. They're dead inside. Which is a beautiful thing. But there's a vacuum there. You can look at, and I wonder if they draw from politics, real politics, because, like we went in with Saddam Hussein and all this stuff. We took him out, and then it just made it destabilized the whole region. So Saddam Hussein is sort of like a Negan. It's like barbaric, insane behaviors, controls. People respond to that sometimes when they're doing their own insane behaviors. And I'm not a big fan of religion. So you take a populace who responds to that sort of dictatorial might. It keeps things in order. You come in and remove the dictator like we did, and then all this chaos. So you wonder if someone like Negan, it begs the question if someone like Negan in this fictional world is needed or not. And that's sort of what that theme is. Because he's not a horrible person when you're talking to him.
Oh.
He does horrible things, but he's...
Being a Bernie person, it kind of seems like Hillary people didn't really see what was happening until we had Trump.
Right.
So we need a Negan in order to see...
A Negan sort of like Trump.
Yeah. We need that kind of antithesis of what we want to be. But somehow it's working.
Yeah.
Like it's working in some sort of way to make us see, whoa, it's not the way we want this to work, and we have to redo everything.
Look at you.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
God, we need to redo the whole thing.
Redo the what whole thing?
Like the whole system of what we think is a leader.
Yeah. Well,
the leader, somebody that comes in and says, you can have this, and you can have more guns, and you can have more food, and you can have more this, or is it the person that comes in and says, you can have your baby here in a peaceful environment, with proper medical care, and really, it's that's why the show's so popular right now, even though people don't understand. And I think a lot of people watching the show are total Trump people.
Subconsciously, you think they're watching the show and enjoying it?
Well, yeah, I was
watching... Because they sort of like the Negan structure of it?
I was reading a lot of comments and people that love Daryl.
Like NRA people?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And to me, in my perspective, the NRA people are Daryl's brother, who's like long gone, and like, but Daryl is the ultimate hero to a lot of people, and to me, Daryl is like the most kind of Bernie-like person because he's like, he's about the
cutting to the chase and yeah.
Essentials and about what really matters, and he's going to do what it takes, and it's just about but I think what it takes is being able to shoot somebody or provide somebody universal health care.
Yeah, but the difference it's not even really a nuance. It's the fact that like Trumpers, if you want to be generalized, because there's really no such thing as a Trumper. There are people who voted for Trump, but for so many different reasons. But
they think he can
the stereotypical difference is between like a Daryl and a Bernie and a Daryl and a Trump. To equate those two is that like these NRAers or whatever are reacting only to Daryl's demonstration of power and strength. Even if it's right or wrong or whatever, they're just going, yeah, go do something. There's never any... Just like Syria, right? The beautiful missiles, that psychopath, beautiful missiles, and everyone, liberal commentators and conservative pundits are like, Trump became president tonight, right? So that fetishization of war, yeah.
Because I don't watch.
They were like, yeah, I didn't watch, but you can just get it's just like, look, you did some violence, you did a missile, oh, now you're presidential.
Now you're
right.
a man.
So that's how that's how they would view Daryl, just him enacting any kind of power without context. Yeah. Now we can see Daryl, he's actually like, we need to do this because it's either the right thing or the wrong thing. That's really the difference. NRAers don't give a damn that more people die. With the kids shooting their brothers and getting to fights, and the husbands are shooting their mothers in the homes. As soon as you bring a gun to the home, they don't care about that. They're like, look, if some guy comes in my house, so they're not ever looking at nuance. They're not ever looking at whether something is right or wrong. They're just going, look, I have a tough guy and I deserve a gun. That's not Daryl. Daryl is emotionally connecting to people that he wants to protect, and that he will search for them, he'll defend them, and he'll go try to rescue them and everything else. He's not just at any given moment for any reason just shooting.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because the people that, probably the majority of people that don't want their guns taken away are Daryl.
Yeah.
Right. And we're like...
And you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Well,
the evolution of his character, too. In the beginning, he was like, you gotta trust people more. Let people in. The evolution of Daryl is a little probably less trusting. So you're seeing these deconstructions.
How he was raised.
Yeah, but also what's with Negan and all the things he's done. You're seeing these character arcs that we've gotten used to, and so we forget. Like Carol was a marm, right? In the beginning, she was just like she was beaten and defenseless. Now she's a badass. And Rick the same way. Rick was now Rick's Shane, who he shot in the first season, whatever.
To me, Rick is weaker now.
Well, his whole point was that he was to be weakened and then to come back and get stronger. Now he was like, we're going to take it back.
But he's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Well, I think that's the execution.
Glenn's wife is.
Yeah.
Because she really, he lost his wife, but
that's
not the same.
But to me, that's the writing and the direction and the story writing. I think what they want to show is that Rick is back. I don't think they executed that well.
I'm really, well, maybe because I'm confused about what they want, because he seems indecisive and like he's never really sure which way to go, and he's always trying to convince, and he's not coming from
I think there's two forces here. I think Rick's a good actor. The character who acts is actually a good actor, but I think he's being stymied by some of the writing and character stories, because he's a good actor, and plus he's British. Glenn's wife is British, Rick is British.
That's kind of odd.
Morgan is British.
Isn't Daryl British?
No, I don't think Daryl. No, Daryl's
American.
I think he lives. I think he used to live in France or something. I don't know, but he's not British. I don't believe. But they're all British, and he's a studied actor. But I think he's being stymied by the writing and the choices in the season, because you can see it in his face, and arguably in the first episode or the first couple of episodes of the season, he was perhaps the best actor, because he was sitting there carrying this horror on his face, and he was broken down, and that's what we needed. Him to be you needed to believe Rick, who was so powerful, was ripped to shreds emotionally. And I believe that. The problem is now they haven't undone that. I think what they wanted to show is that they've undone it. We're back. We're going to fight now and all this stuff. But Rick is still being an actor. He's like, I'm not going to just on off it. What is this, cartoon? So I think he's still carrying the hesitation and all that stuff. But the writing is saying, no, you're just back. And he's like, no, I'm a studied actor, right? So,
oh, wow.
You see, I think there's a conflict there in him knowing the character better than the story writing allows. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Because it was a weird beat when his son, spoilers if you haven't seen it, the season finale, Negan's like, I'm gonna kill your son.
Barely had a reaction, really. He's like, I've been through this before.
Yeah, I go, that doesn't flow from the history. And Rick, I didn't see, he was like, oh, fuck it. Now, it made sense if they wanted to convey Rick's back, right? He's tough, look, I'm gonna kill you. No, he said he's gonna kill your son. I'm gonna kill you after one day. The beat didn't feel right. He's gonna kill he's gonna fucking kill your son. So, but they wanted to say Rick's back. He's not going to be all whippy like last time. So he's going to be like, I'm going to kill you. No, your son's your son's going to be killed. It didn't feel realistic to me.
They were resting up on that lame conversation he had with her where he said, we're going to have, some of us are going to die. But it still would have been.
I know, but see,
I think that particular episode was supposed to convey all of that, but
the writing and the story didn't feel real to the characters. So,
I don't think it's acting is the problem. I think it's writing and the problem in certain episodes because it puts the actors in a position where it's like they have to convey something that's impossible.
And even worse, I mean, the horror of the first episode in Walking Dead got such a backlash.
It's still traumatized.
Everybody has PTSD, but because of the backlash, the writers I think are a little off because they at least at that episode they did what they wanted to do, their vision.
We can't do that.
But now they're just the executives are like coming in with their business decisions, and so they said even quotes. They were like, we're not going to show. I think we went too far, and we're not going to show it. So they wanted to give a big happy ending, and everybody's fighting and all this stuff like this.
So there was a backlash against that.
They were saying it was so dark, and they were like, "We're not here to do, like torture porn or whatever." And so that's when you start second guessing yourself. Then you alter. I don't know should it be blue? Should it be pink? Should it be why pink? So obviously they toned it down, and even in the later events that were very dramatic during the season, they were muted. They were muted, and I think they wanted sort of a happy story at the end, like we're all back, we're gonna rally. And I sort of didn't feel it.
False.
It felt sort of like empty calories and yada yada yada. So, all right. Well, for sort of this turned into, we didn't know what we were going to talk about, but for Walking Dead, accidental analysis, we covered a bunch of things like from pain and writing and Saddam Hussein. So you can't say that this was light and fluffy discussion of Walking Dead. To Bernie made a guest appearance for some reason, for a very good reason. But what I'm saying is, this isn't your grandfather's Walking Dead discussion. So I'll end with this. Some more Negan. Look at you. You are something else.
Wow.
I don't want to put you in that coffin.
Oof. That is telling.
All you have to do is join us or fight us. And I think you should join us.
Wow.
This has been B and C, the Cynical Progressives, and we just go live and we don't even know what we're going to talk about. And to me, that's more fun, right? And for some reason, you look shorter than me, which you're not. You're taller than me, and I look blacker than you. So
that's true.
This is probably some kind of filter Facebook's trying out with their new functionality. So maybe we'll talk again tomorrow about something or other random. There's just so many wonderful things to talk about in this world. We gotta talk about how insane the progressives have become now. All the little factions, and everybody's nuts. Everybody's gone nuts. So maybe we'll talk about that, but we'll just spitball. I'll let you say the goodbyes, Becca.
Bye. Thanks if you're actually present, actually listening.
Oh, they may not be listening live, but they can listen later. Yeah.
Thanks for listening at any time. Bye.
And you know what Deegan would say about you? You are hot as shit.
Thanks, big guy.
You are hot. Ciao.